All right, it's happening. It's here. This is it. This is the Charlotte Otremba Show. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name is Charlotte. I named the show after myself because it's starring me and I make it. And and I clearly have zero originality. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. That's all true. But I'm so happy you're joining me. And today is like a great day. It's officially December. I mean, if we really needed some hope this year, and I feel like the holiday season is going to be everyone's like, I don't know, like what they're going to cling to with all of their being. Like this is the month. We have hope. We have a potential vaccine. We have holidays. We have a tree we can put up maybe if you celebrate. We have decorations of any kind. We have some good food. We are hopeful. We are hopeful. I'm wearing red lipstick, which I'm really excited about because one, it's the holiday season now, so we're putting on some red lipstick. And also, it's just incredible when you put a camera and light on how all health and vitality just leaves your face. Just disappears. Gets sucked right out. I can only speak to my skin tone, which is translucent. But if I do not have any sort of sun that has touched me, I just fade right into the white wall behind me if I don't have some makeup on my face. So what I had on originally wasn't cutting it, so I had to just slap some red paint on my lips and hope that it made me look like I was a present human being. Which also, can we just talk about natural makeup? Like those people that, that's like everybody, but I feel like right now because of TikTok and everybody, and Instagram before that, but just everybody's on some sort of picture or video making app, but they've also gotten really good at this no makeup look that's dewy and healthy. And never in my life have I had good enough skin to do a no makeup look. If I have to put on makeup, it's because I need to cover the shit out of my face. And there is no way that it's gonna look natural. Oh, that no makeup look. No, we're putting on a bottle of concealer at minimum. Right? And not only do I now have acne or some sort of breakup, but I also have these wonderful scars from that fabulous time when I had really bad acne. So, and then also this oh yeah, get that dewy complexion. Babe, I've been rocking a dewy complexion since I was 11. And if I put straight powder and cake it on, give it 5 minutes. The natural sheen will come through. It drives me crazy. And I just see these young girls that can do that. And I just want to know how do you have perfectly plump skin and no pimples? I don't understand. And I'm still waiting to grow out of that. Alas. It's fine. We just had Thanksgiving, which was, even with this, crazy year, we have many things to be thankful for. I'm thankful that I don't have COVID, because that would be scary, and feel really grateful for my health. So I if you were in New York City, man, New York's hottest club was City MD. I think I got that from like a TikTok. It was like, they added voiceover to Stefan from SNL, and he's like, New York's hottest club is City MD. Literally, I heard stories about people waiting anywhere from 3 hours to 6 hours in line for a COVID test because they weren't taking appointments. Which is great, because if you didn't have COVID before, you probably got it waiting in that line. I mean, it was like 3 blocks of line of people standing one after each other looking miserable, obviously. And it was freezing, kind of a light rain. We walked by one or 2 different ones, and like we were going to Richmond to my boyfriend's family, and luckily we were able to get an appointment there. So we just sort of like went as soon as we got there. And this was a precaution. I luckily didn't have I haven't been around anybody that has it, thank goodness. So we didn't have a scare, but it was just like, make sure, you know? And man, so the one I did, which was really great, was like Walgreens had a drive-through COVID test, and they just hand you a little pack through the prescription window, and you do it yourself in the car while a nice pharmacist looked through the window like, all right, let's see if you clowns can do it. And I swear to God, I don't know if I just like thought, you know, you heard at the beginning like how bad the COVID tests were because it felt like they were like scratching your brain because the thing went all the way up. So I don't know if I just in my own head thought that I needed to do that to be like in solidarity of with the early COVID test takers, but I inserted that Q-tip into my own nose so high that I started tearing up. And then was like, why did I do that to myself? There was no need. And then, of course, me tearing up from like, I don't know, creating my own pain. I don't even know why I was like tearing up. It's not like it hurt. It was just uncomfortable. I hope there were other people that like started crying after their COVID test, because I'm going to sound like such a freaking wimp if not. So I do that, and then my boyfriend Lon, he was like, you go first. Thanks, babe. No worries, I will. So I did, and I'm of course trying to be like, oh yeah, I got this, no big deal. Tears just start streaming down my face, but I'm silent because I am not going to show anybody that I am weak. And then he sees that, and he's obviously like, oh, fuck, and takes it, and then he does it, but then I'm like, I don't see him looking uncomfortable, and I'm like, oh, well, you're gonna have to stick it back in and rub around a few times. You must not have gotten enough. Like, in this weird way, trying to make sure he also felt my pain. And to the point where the pharmacist was like, all right, I think you got enough in there. You didn't need to go back in, you psychomasochist. Anyway, we didn't have it. It came back negative. Spoiler alert, don't have COVID. Imagine how terrible that would have been for Thanksgiving if like you were the person. You were the super spreader. Get the hell out of my house. And I'd have been like, yes, absolutely. I will never speak to any of your family again. So that. Otherwise, I mean, Thanksgiving was great. It was smaller this year. I'm sure a lot of you felt that. So it was like just, I went, like I said, to Lon's family's house, and it was just his immediate family. So no like aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. But it was actually really nice, and the weather was nice. So we kind of got to be outside a lot, and there wasn't sort of the same amount of pressure and all these, scheduled events and like, oh, we have to be here, or this person's coming over this time. And usually there's sort of all these other social events besides Thanksgiving, So yeah, it was just really nice to be like super chill. And but did not stop us from drinking copious amounts of wine every night. And you're also just like you're with like family and stuff. And when it's not your actually both ways. Either when it's like not, even when it's your family or like someone else's family, you have to be on all the time, and making sure that you're just like always being nice. Such a challenge. All right, gotta be nice today. I'm not gonna be a bitch. Yeah, and I just I think just the combination of all of that, just the food, wine, being nice, I'm just exhausted. I feel like I need a nap. Literally today, like midday hit, and I got a full night's sleep last night, but I just felt like exhausted. I feel like the whole week caught up with me. Don't worry, in a few weeks I get to do it all again. It's the holiday season, baby. Which is exciting. I really am excited for the holiday season. I really think that this is going to be like, everybody, look, we're not going to have all the holiday parties, but we're going to have happier people who are excited to just be nice. I mean, I'm excited. All right. So obviously when you go visit family for Thanksgiving, not obviously, but we drove. And I'm sure we are not the only couple that deals with driving stress and agreeing that the other person is a terrible driver. But my love does this annoying thing where, especially when we're driving in the city. So I grew up in New York, a little bit outside the city, but I went to high school in Manhattan. So I took driver's ed literally in the streets of Manhattan. And like literally would be driving down like a, one-way street, and my driving instructor we'd be approaching like a fire hydrant, and my driving instructor would say, with two other students in the backseat, like, okay, pull over here and parallel park. And there'd be a line of cars behind us. And you'd be like, okay. And, you'd feel like everybody is literally watching and waiting for you. And it was terrible. But it does, and just like while you're doing that, you have to be on the lookout for pedestrians and this and that. So from the get-go, I learned how to handle New York City driving. And you have to be very aware, and you have to be a little aggressive, because otherwise you will be stuck at every light. You will stop for every pedestrian who's walking when it's not their turn. And you will just like be sideswiped or, cut off. I mean, you have to be like ready to go to battle if you're driving in the city. And he will do this thing. And when I am driving in the city, I am like hyper aware, like to the point where I like can't talk. Now on the highway is a different story. I can like kind of listen to the podcast, whatever, like listen to a podcast or like, talk, have a conversation. But like if I'm in the city, I like need to focus. So he will do this thing. Like if there's a person, walking towards me and I'm driving, he'll be like, oh my God, watch out. But it'll be like delayed. So I've already registered. This is like late. Like I've already registered the person and I'm already made a decision and I'm acting accordingly. And you saying that with panic in your voice now throws a wrench in that and makes me worried that there's like another person that I actually didn't see that I actually might hit. And then I react and maybe like jerk on the brakes or something, which helps nobody. That helps nobody. You've just made it worse. And oh my God, we get into like our worst fights when we are driving in the car. And I do wonder about this, like with like backseat drivers. Do you think you're helping? Do you think that by you saying, "Oh, you better watch out," like that's gonna make a difference? It's too late. If you're saying it, it's too late. The thing is already happening. You know what I mean? Unless you were like 20, I don't know, like a half a block away from a red light and it looks like they're gunning it and you say that's a red light, okay, then maybe they have time. But if they're already like driving through it, like this is what I would argue. If like they're already driving through a red light and you say, oh my God, it's a red light, and then they slam on the brakes, you now like have exponentially increased the chances that like by you jerking, like other people are already reacting to what's happening, that by you jerking, that's like making it worse. Fight me on this. And just don't mess with me when I'm driving. Oh, and this is another thing. This, oh my God, this gets under my skin so much. Your car allows your headlights to go on automatically. When you keep the dial set to auto, your headlights will just turn on as soon as it senses that it's dark out. It's incredible. It's crazy. It's like years and years of technology have made this happen. So why would we ignore that and turn the switch to off? And not only that, why would you turn the switch for headlights off in somebody else's car? Because this has happened to me. And then I'll be driving and it's like dusk or something and I'm getting honked at or flashed at, or in this particular example, this like biker, like, you know, banged on the window and was like, your headlights aren't on, and starts yelling at me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. They always go on. And sure enough, they're set on off instead of auto. And then suddenly it's my fault for not checking that my headlights when I got into the car were set to auto instead of off. And I'm like, why would I think to check something that is always on or always on auto? Why would I assume that changed? Anyway, we didn't break up, but we were close. I'm kidding. I love him to death, but driving, can't do it. We now just agree to just we don't comment on the other. We just, nothing to be said. And I think that's important for every relationship. You know? I mean, at least I'm not like him driving at like 55 miles per hour on the expressway. And I know how much he loves when I point that out to him. And he reminds me that there's no need to get a speeding ticket. But anyway, such is life. Such is life. So I got an email today for this like historical society or historic museum or something. I don't know, one of these museums that I've been to. And then because you maybe sign up online for something, your email address is now in their system forever. And they were advertising stuff going on this month. And one of them was a spotlight on women's history. Imagine thinking that you were part of just the history of this country, because you've been here the same amount of time, and you get a spotlight. Just a temporary spotlight. No one's given a spotlight to the women while they're doing these things. Whatever might be, you know, being presented or something. I forget what the exact, like, museum was doing. Like, you know, you just get that spotlight on all the work you did hundreds of years into the future after after you were repeatedly called sweetie at work and paid a dime a day. But you got your spotlight later. Spotlight after you die. No problem. Suffer through it now. Don't worry about the groping, honey. You'll get a spotlight. And someone will read that in an email and click unsubscribe. And that's okay. Even like the women's suffrage movement, which I'm sure this was probably about, like maybe it was probably about the women's right to vote, history of the women's right to vote or something. Like, just imagine going through all that work, like, and encountering arguments just to be treated as a normal human being. Like, whoa. It's just crazy to me that, like, the people you were talking to, if you were trying to fight for the right to vote for women, that there would be people that'd be like, why would you want to do that? You can't do that. Oh my God, I did see something. Okay, it might have been on TikTok, so who knows if it's true. But apparently there was something in the 1920s, maybe earlier. You know what? Maybe even earlier. Where some guys in this town nominated this woman to be mayor as a joke, being like, haha, yeah, you'll see, you're interested, like, watch how badly you're gonna lose. And then she won with like 60 or 70% of the vote. Like, demolished those assholes. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, back to my lipstick. As I speak on the women's right to vote, let me talk to you about my lipstick. I just spotted it over there. But honestly, that's the beauty, is like when you fight for women's rights, you're fighting to be able to choose what you want to be. And the thing is, we can be both. Okay, anyway, this is Revlon 350 British Red. That's a lie, it's not Revlon, it's L'Oreal. Excuse me, L'Oreal. British Red. Kind of digging it, but you know, we'll see how it looks on camera. TBD. Other exciting news, my brother is engaged. I mean, that, like, for the past year he's been engaged. That's not the new news, but the new news is I just got to save the date. Love him, love his fiance. They are like the cutest, and I'm so excited that I'm getting a new sister. But what I really wanted to talk about here is like wedding websites. I mean, the breadth of styles and information available, and just sheer, like, I don't know, volume, I guess, and like amount of information that you can put on wedding websites is astounding and also exhausting. Like I looked on their wedding website and I felt like at ease, which I think is the sign of a great wedding website. Like, I didn't get there and get overwhelmed and think, oh my God, like there are all these things that I have to read. Like when people on their wedding website put like a 3-page story about how they met. Like, is that the story you tell at a cocktail party? Because that's really all we have the attention span for to read as well. I'm not logging on to like deep dive. And if I want to stalk you and learn more, I will seek out your social media. Don't you worry. And if there's a scandal associated with that, which is what we would really want to deep dive read on, I can assure you that will not be on the wedding website. So unless it's that, and unless you want to put that on there, just keep it short and sweet, which is what Will and Magdalena did. And I love that. I just love that. And then there's this beautiful thing called like wanting more, which we should all remember that there is an attractive quality in that, in wanting to know more. Anyway, But like, I've also been on ones where there will be, first of all, a long story about how they met. And then all of these tabs at the top with like activities and like, I don't know, a biography on each of the people in the wedding party, 3,000 photos, like, and then none of the actual information that we need, like what time the freaking ceremony is. Because I can assure you, I have used that on wedding websites before. If we're like, I don't know, if a flight gets delayed or like for whatever reason, you know, something happens, you need to just be able to pull up something and double check and be like, okay, we're going here now. We got this. And if I gotta scroll through, I can't. So anyway, point is, I went on their wedding website and I got all the information I needed. It was helpful. It was not overwhelming, to the point, and beautiful to look at. And for that, we thank you. Wanted to give a quick shout out to my alma mater, Vanderbilt, because current student Sarah Fuller, who is a kicker on the championship winning women's soccer team at Vanderbilt, got tapped to be a kicker for a game in the Vanderbilt football team for one of their games. And it was really amazing. I mean, really cool, honestly. Like, she became the first woman to play in a Power 5 college football game. She's 21. She, you know, gave all these great press interviews, like, you know, girls can do anything, like, you can do anything, just set your mind to it. But in every headline, or almost every headline, it, like, has that amazing part in the beginning. It's like, Sarah Fuller, first woman, like, kicks for Vanderbilt football in the 41-0 game. Vanderbilt lost 41-0. Like, at least we had this going for us, because, man, really blew it. Honestly, at like 41-0 by the end of the game, they could have just pulled in like a drunk guy, like in a like painted, I don't know, gear or something. He was like, "Here, kick it, whatever." I'm just kidding. No, pretty amazing. But basically, it was because they part of the team has COVID, and she came through, and then the best, truly the best. She goes, "Honestly, I was just really calm," Fuller said after the game. "The SEC championship was more stressful, if I'm going to be honest." Yeah, no shit. Little more stressful than a regular game where Vandy was losing. But that was so cool. It made me really proud because she's like making national news. And I mean, when I think of like, you know, 21 in college, I certainly could not have been playing a you know, D1 sport and being tapped by a second D1 sports team to play. I mean, freaking amazing. Real quick, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I know, those of you up on your high horse that don't watch, come down for a sec. Come down with me. Come settle in. One, watch the show. It's pretty much for free on YouTube right now because I think they're trying to get more people to watch. I watched the next 2 episodes, and I've had a change of heart on Mary. There, I've said it. I think one of the last episodes I was saying, like, she definitely, like, there's something off about her, which, to be fair, probably still is. But regarding her marriage, I think it's, like, more her family is fucked up. Like, it really sounded like a true, super weird, old-fashioned arranged marriage, because she was talking about how she lied to him on their wedding night and for a subsequent month at least, and said that she was on her period because she didn't want to be intimate with him, which is really sad because, I mean, just imagine like marrying somebody that you literally do not know, aside from as a paternal to grandfatherly figure, and they seem old and out of, like, just not somebody you want to be with. I don't know. I feel for her, even though she's a little off. But I mean, look, if you're gonna, if that's what you're doing, you're gonna be a little off. Maybe it's not her fault. Remains to be seen. Still love Heather. Don't worry, I still love Heather. She's my favorite. She's my favorite. Heather, I love you. Okay. Wanted to give a quick recommendation. So, holiday season's coming up, so I'm just going to be making sure I give good gift recommendations this month. My recommendation for books would be Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Fucking obsessed. Should go to any woman in your life. Send them out. David Sedaris' new book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to order it. And I just, honestly, any David Sedaris, he's hilarious. I mean, for this month, The Holidays on Ice, short stories, hilarious. Or I guess memoir, short personal essays, whatever. So funny. But he has a new book. And then another fun idea is to look up an area, like a specific region or something, town, whatever, and then choose either a history book or ghost stories book or short stories connected to that area. And this is really great for right now because maybe you or a friend or a family member or something has been spending quarantine in a different area than usual, or they're, they've moved, or they are spending more time at home than usual, had to move back home, whatever. This will give them sort of like a cool resurgence of love maybe for the area, or interest, renew their interest in the area, and it makes it feel more personal, or like you're more attached somewhere if you know a little bit more about the history of it, or of like somebody else's tales of being there, or even if it's fiction. So really fun idea. Okay, now, and I'm reading Radium Girls right now. Shout out, this is an Unley for lending me it. Holy cow. Yeah, so it's published in 2017. I'm only 117 pages in. It's a thick baby of 400 pages. So kind of ways to go, but holy moly. So this was about these girls. So I think it just came out as a movie too, or a TV, and I'm gonna need to watch that. But basically it was like and I say girls because literally most of these workers were in their late teens, early 20s, but most of them teens, working in a factory painting the numbers on watches, and they used radium. This was the 1920s. They used radium because it was recently discovered and it glows in the dark. So, I mean, these factories had contracts with the military, the government, big, and also, just big corporations to make watches. So, and they were paid a good amount of money. But to make sure that the brush stayed fine, they were all taught to lick their tongue to like sort of reset, or if it started to crust with the paint or something, you like just lick it and keep painting. Now, what do we think happened there? I mean, radium is a heck of a chemical, whatever it's called, element. And basically it just started like eating them from the insides. So when it's ingested, if you were to encounter radium, so like even the chemists working not with the brushes in other parts of the lab would wear gloves, and if they were lax or something, like it would start eating away at their skin. I mean, it was crazy. So then you think about ingesting that, and basically your body, it's similar to calcium, so your body thinks it's ingesting calcium, so it basically like directs it right to your bones, And then it just starts eating your bones from the inside. And so they talk about these girls where like their entire jaw would just come off. Oh, it's insane. It's so sad, but also crazy to read about, and just how they're navigating right now. I'm just at the part where like the doctors are studying the girls, like this is not okay, and they're starting to try to build a case, I think. Anyway, super uplifting, but really interesting. All right, now it's time for advice. Yay! All right, so 2 questions today. First up, Landon N asks, are there any ways to make Zoom gatherings more special, especially during the upcoming holidays? It can feel corporate and stale. Whew, I feel ya. All right, I have 2 suggestions. Take it or leave them. First one is a hot take. Don't do Zoom. If there's one person in particular, maybe it's a grandparent, different family member, I would just call on the phone. Call on the phone. Put it on speaker. Talk to multiple people at once if you need. But it'll feel more personal in a way. Zoom will always feel corporate because that's why it was invented, was to be used for meetings at work and make it easier for remote workers. And it also just brings back memories of the beginning of quarantine when everybody was like locked in their homes and trying to see people. So if you must Zoom, which sometimes it is just the best, it's like, I think you just got to cap the number of people that are on. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Nobody can all talk at the same time. And I think try to plan the questions ahead of time, which is kind of fun. So maybe like one person sort of like makes a fun game, or like, I don't know, because if you just try to free talk over Zoom, it doesn't really work. It's always going to drown out one or the other. So that's my advice. Okay, second question. Elizabeth N asks, sometimes I feel a bit worried about sharing my travel or holiday plans because I don't know how others will react. There's a lot of shame and judgment in the COVID travel game. How do I best navigate these conversations? Great question. So obviously different parts of the country have different rules in effect. But on the whole, everybody wants to be smart and safe, and nobody wants to put their family members or friends in danger. So look, it's a delicate situation. Some are more sensitive than others to it. I'd say keep your plans probably, don't overshare about your plans. You know, you can just say, oh, I'm visiting so-and-so. You don't need to say that you're flying or driving. And if they ask, you can say, yeah, we've made the decision that we are going to take all the safety precautions necessary, and we feel okay doing it at this time. And so that's what we're going to do. And I think if you say it like that, like if you're clear that it's a thoughtful decision that you've made, if somebody's going to judge you or shame you, look, like that's on them. There's nothing you can really do. And you've made your decision already, and that's it. That is what it is. But I think just saying, just don't overshare. And then if you do share, just say that you're being as safe as possible. You're taking all the necessary precautions before and after. And you've discussed with the person you're seeing, and you've made the choice together. And then no one can really argue because, look, if you were forcing yourself on somebody to do something, that's one thing. And you're not going to party, I think you got this. All right. Well, that's my time. That's it. Thank you so much for those of you that wrote in with questions. And thank you for joining me for another episode of the Charlotte Otremba Show. If you have a moment, please rate and review and write a comment. It really helps me out so that I can get seen on the charts and so that I can share it with more of you. And I'm so excited. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.